smarter agents is what we're creating here. Because every time we do these, we get smarter. All of us do. So, first few slides here are about Daryl Davis. He's a coach, of course. I think a lot of us saw him at the Manatee Association SOAR meeting. Yeah, it was good. He does a nice job. When a buyer decides to buy a home, 3 phases they work through. Each one's unique, requiring a different coaching style. First one is discovery, then identifying, and then commitment. I'm running through these because today we are talking about buyers and sellers and what are the frequent questions that they ask us. And it's just a constant. These are always constant. So discovery, it's the first phase. Buyers really don't know what they want other than they want to buy a home. It's usually the point where they start browsing online. Eventually they call you, real estate agent, and they want your help to accomplish this goal. Once they hire you, they decide to hire you, have them sign our buyer's agency agreement. I mean, it's just so smart. It's the simplest form there is to break of all the real estate contracts we have, other than maybe an as-is in the inspection phase. But the fact of the matter with this one is they feel in their minds they're committing to hire you, and they are, which is a beautiful thing. One page, one signature, they hire you. Of course, then we use our brokerage disclosure as well. There's a lot of discussion in this phase. They're trying to determine what they want. They're looking at a wide variety of homes. It's your job to help them narrow down, identify their likes and don't likes, and use the profile sheet, of course, to see what kind of homes they want, how many bedrooms, how many baths, sizes, ages, all of those things. They're going to go to Zillow and spend time there checking out houses. People can't resist it. It's one of the biggest drivers out there, and they can't help themselves. So one of the tips, little certificate in the buyer's tab in the classroom. This is for them, of course. Let me see if we have this. You can give your clients the show agents house they are married. Oh, okay. Yeah. This is just a thing where all you have to do is give your buyers your cards, in my opinion. Daryl is saying have them take basically your buyer's agency agreement with them and say, hey, I already have an agent. I'm hired. Okay. But I think if they give them your card and they're loyal, you're good. So phase 2, now they're identifying. It's where you sit down with them, nail down what sort of features they're looking for. That's getting into more of the nitty gritty. It's great if they do that here in the office with you, because you can sit down, it's on a big screen, you can blow up pictures, you can really narrow it down without driving to a ton of homes. But let's face it, you may need to go to a home or two while they're identifying before they ever get their head around what they want. And the important part about this is you're establishing a relationship. Without that relationship, your opportunity of actually selling those people a home is very slim. Even if they sign that loyalty agreement, if you don't have their confidence, it's very difficult. So you need to figure out what are their must-haves, nice to have, non-negotiables. What's interesting is people say all of these things, and you take them to the house and you show them, hey, this checks off all of your must-haves and everything that you're looking for. Why don't we go ahead and make an offer on this? That would be a natural close, right? A lot of folks are afraid of the natural closes, but there's a time to ask. It's not a time to be shy. I know that each of us have our own personalities, and that's important in what we do, but we need to know that when they're ready to make a commitment, we help them do it. If you're standing there and somebody says, what do we do next? Can we write an offer on the home? Just kick yourself. In your mind, kick yourself, because it means you haven't been asking and really you haven't been doing all of your job. And our job is to be the professional that leads them down that trail, holds them by the hand, and helps them get it done. So this is an emotional deal, it's financial. For a lot of people, it's spiritual. It's very interesting to see how this works, okay? So right now, they walk in, they fall in love with the home. You need to make sure they have everything they need so they're ready. They can make an offer. They're excited, they're ready. And guess what? Well, we didn't really help them with a lender. You know, we felt like we were having to push them too hard to talk to a lender. I don't mind showing somebody a home or even two. If I know them, I might go a long way without really forcing the issue of having to have that agreement from a lender that they're approved, but not very often, because I'm telling them you're wasting your time. And the fact of the matter is, I don't need to practice. I can be a little blunt, but that's my personality. And I'll actually tell people, look, I really don't need to practice, guys. I want to help you get the house, but there's a process. And I think that if we let them know, hey, it's a process, and you need to help me help you through the process, but you've got to do your part. Some people are scared to death when they're getting into a home idea to even call that lender. And it's not that they don't want to, it's not that they don't want to get that loan. Yeah, they're just scared, and they're scared of everything. Right.
Sure.
And if I fill out something online, all of a sudden they've checked my credit score's gone down.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to me to watch how some people get. So it's our job to hold them by the hand and help them, right? So that was all Daryl Davis' stuff. Of course, according to me, whether buyer is their first home or fifth home, it's these feelings. We need to be professional, help them be prepared for the process, right? And it is overwhelming. We want to make it not overwhelming. I don't know any buyer who it's not overwhelming to, unless they're the high D, high driver type personality that just says, hey, I'm in, let's go. And don't waste my time with the details. Where do I sign? That's not even me. I can't get to that level. I'm like, show me all the documentation so I can read them so I know what I'm going to sign. But those are important things to know about, okay? How about just these basics? The basics again. Should I talk to my bank before buying? Well, duh. But people ask this. We get it all the time. So, Leah came with these lists of questions, and it was great because I sat down and answered them. And it's like, okay. So she was just going, hey, if I was a buyer, what would I ask? So again, to present to the seller, we need to present an offer to the seller. We need to either have proof of funds, which is cash, or a pre-approval letter with our offer. Or I don't know of any agents that would want to accept an offer without having those items. I would not. I just wouldn't. Unless the only way I possibly would is if I knew both sides and I already knew the financial position of the other person that's making the offer, that I could speak to that for them, which has happened too. Heck, we've sold deals on handshakes, and I've had to go back to everybody and get the documentation afterwards. It can happen, but the fact of the matter is, without the documentation in place, the title companies and things go cross-eyed. So we have to have those things, and they protect us and them. Okay, so why go through the stress of looking at homes and maybe falling in love with one and not being able to get financed, or they're looking at something they can't afford? It's silly. So the things that lenders will require, this is right in your app files. You need to look at. They're going to be looking at, are your bills paid on time? What amounts do you owe? What's your credit history? So when people say, hey, what rate am I getting? Our first answer is, it depends. It depends on them. It really does. We're all praying that they're over 700, but the fact of the matter is, if they're even right around 640, we can get them financed. I've gotten people financed at 580, but their rates are out of sight. And that's the kind of person that, to do our job nicely, we want to talk about this. Should I buy or continue to rent? It depends. All of these things are going to come with it depends. Each person has a different financial situation, right? So some people should be renters, at least until they get their financial house in order, if it's not. So this is the place where I think some of you have seen me ask people if they run on a budget. If they don't, I want to share with them what a budget looks like. I mean, both of you have seen me do that, and we've done it together, so it's fun. And I think it's fun because it really helps people get a clear picture. Like somebody saying, hey, I can afford $2,800 a month. Okay, would you be offended if I said, hey, let's just run through a simple budget? I have not yet had anybody tell me, no, I've got it. But I have had people say, you can kind of feel who you ask what question, right? And you don't want to offend people. Sometimes you need to lead with, would it be offensive to you if I said, hey, let's just look at a simple budget and be sure you're comfortable with where you want to go? Because I don't want to sell you something that's more than you're comfortable with. Unlike a lot of agents, I'm not just after the paycheck. I want to make sure it's what you want. That changes people's mindset immediately to the, oh, you care about me, not just that paycheck. Holy smokes, that's weird. To a lot of people, it's weird. but to almost everybody, it's a, holy smokes, they really care about me. And so that's what we're getting to, okay? So if people's finances aren't in order, help them. Show them. If they say I can afford 2,800 and you lay out their budget and they really show 21 or 2,200, it's like, hey, that's where you're comfortable. Now you need to move your own numbers around in your budget to see how you can get to that 28 if that's the house you really want, right? We just help them get their things in order. And if they do have finances in order, why wouldn't they invest in real estate? It just makes total sense. Why would you want to, why wouldn't you want your money to grow instead of paying 100% interest? How can I find a rent-to-own property? These are interesting questions. And this one, those programs are always out there, okay? There's always an investor, a hard money lender, so to speak, that, or somebody else that even uses their home equity to buy another property for somebody, to rent from them, because all of a sudden they're making 12% interest and they're only paying 6% interest. Makes sense, unless that person doesn't pay their bills. Then if you can't afford the payment of both, you can't afford to have that rental, in my opinion, okay? Again, some people don't agree with that. They believe in OP, making money on other people's money. So for this, it's the same idea as the owner being the banker. And here's the interesting thing. Typically, people that do this just don't have a high enough credit score to purchase. And they have to put down a huge down payment. Tiny, tiny little piece of that money is actually going towards their principal and or down payment. Everything else is interest. Loans, what a lot of people don't understand, they think I make this payment today and the same amount of interest and principal payment comes out of this one as the last one when I pay my loan off. It's just not true. They're all front loaded, and including the lender that writes. If that loan isn't owned for a year by the person that's buying, oftentimes the lender doesn't get paid, or they have to pay the money back, because that money comes out of their annual percentage rate, right? Okay, so are these available? Yes. Why not show your buyer how to buy instead of how to rent? Because this is renting to own. You're still renting. It starts with the key word. You are renting. Even though they'll put your name on a note and it looks official, you're a renter. Okay? Somebody buys a home, they have a mortgage. Do they own the home? No. The lending institution does. On the tax records, it's going to show them, but the reality is, miss a payment and see who owns that home. Should I buy another before selling my home? It depends. Get used to hearing that. On the seller's financial situation, right? Can they carry two mortgages? TWO, two mortgages or not? These are the things to question. Buying first. Really nice if you can afford it. You don't have to deal with a double move, storage fees, all of those things. You move everything into your new home, set it up, then maybe go back and clean the other house and get it ready for the market. And there are many people in Florida that are in the position where they can do that, okay? But there are others that can't. And then the question is, with the person that's going to sell it, would they consider renting the current property? If you're going to sell that first home, can I help quiet market that to my buyer pool and even my own office before we get it cleaned up and ready to sell? Maybe I can sell it before any of this happens. Work all the angles, guys. Things change, okay? Why should I use a realtor? Have you guys heard this one?
Yeah, hopefully both new builds.
Okay, so on the new build end, what do you tell people? Help me with this.
So when you go in there, there's that sales associate that's helping you, right? Okay, well, you realize that once you sign, they're not representing you, they're representing the builder, right? There's no one there negotiating for you. There's no one there making sure that the house is being built or it's on time or that the paint colors are correct.
Good.
You're solo dolo on that. You're a free ranger.
There you go. And the other sad part is that it's virtually free to have us there. It might cost them $295 to have representation. Who wouldn't pay $295 to have a professional agent representing them? Only somebody who is really pinching pennies, stepping over a dollar to pick up dimes. It just doesn't compute, because we're professional negotiators. I go to a new build, I'm gonna negotiate that price for you the best I can. If I can't get a price, I'm gonna be negotiating add-ons. If they don't do that, I'm gonna be negotiating where the lot's at and things like that. I always go for something and try to help them. If they won't do that, fine. How about covering all of their closing costs? There's always ways. And these poor builders reps on the other end have to go back and ask their managers every single time you're asking for these things. Eventually, even the manager will get tired and concede to something. I've even had them say, hey, we'll drop it 2% if you kick in 1% of your commission. And I'm like, when did it become about my commission and not about your firm selling a house? So you need to be willing to defend yourself too. Or let your buyer know, hey, if you're willing to pay 1% of my commission, I'm going to be able to save you 2% off the price of the house. Would you like to do that? And then do it and watch the builder go, ah, crap. But there's other ways of looking at all of these things. You covered everything I was saying here. That's good. I think it's important for the buyer to know, though, that if you do go and sign with the builder's rep, they're making an increased commission, and the builder's putting the rest in their pocket. All there is to it. Okay? But why would you want to, if you're even selling your own home, why would you want to schedule all these appointments? Is this all you want to do? Is this our full-time job? There's a reason it's a full-time job. We have to schedule appointments. We have to work through offers, signage, lock boxes, the list goes on. And hand them the list of everything that you do for them. It's in our buyer's package, right? Or seller's package.
Yeah, well, I think it's even the difference between a realtor and like a licensed real estate agent.
For sure. Yeah, a realtor is actually trained. A licensed real estate agent went and got their license and stopped.
Well, trained and code of ethics.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is, a licensed agent, in reality, there's challenges here too, because they're not active until they hang their license with a broker. So it's just, it's an interesting thing. And being licensed and being an active agent are two different things too. What are my total closing costs going to look like? Can you guys write this out on a napkin? You ought to be able to, over a cup of coffee. And this, what you need to do is just imagine that closing statement in your head. For those of you that see them on a daily basis, it's much easier. For those that don't, you need to just know there's going to be a closing fee. There's an attorney or a title agent. How much does that cost? Yeah, somewhere between $400 and $650 is an average. And I would plan on between $500 and $600, and that covers it. Doc stamps on the deed. What's that? 0.075, or you can say 7 cents on the dollar, and it makes more sense to them. But it's 0.007. I always put 0.0075. So that must be accurate. Taxes, whatever those may be, you're going to be prepaying a portion of those, even though they're paid in arrears. In Florida, the lender wants those held. Insurance, you need to have a ballpark idea of what the insurance is going to cost on that house. And if you're making an offer on a house, surely you call the listing agent and say, hey, what's the insurance cost? What's your seller paying? A lot of agents don't ask that question as the listing agent, so they have no idea. Our goal as a listing agent is to collect all this information and be able to do it well, right? So what about mortgage insurance? What's that look like? Well, that's, again, if somebody's putting a low amount of money down, they have to pay mortgage insurance. So now they're going to be paying principal, interest, and mortgage insurance. Most of this doesn't go away anymore either. Somebody would have to refinance to get that to go away, even if they've got 20% down, paid down. Used to be automatic. I think it was Obama that did away with that. Title insurance, you're paying it for yourself and you're paying it for your lender. So there's two title insurances, right? That's the way it works. What's title insurance cost? I am terrible with that math, so I always pull out the card because it's a state promulgated number, and it's a given number, so I always pull that out. How about just courier fees? They need to know they're gonna be charged $50 for courier fees. What's that benefit me? Nothing, but it's one of the fees you're gonna get hit with. And this is a close nutshell. And this was just off the top of my head, but it's a close nutshell of what they're gonna pay, and that's the things I write out on a napkin. And we can ballpark it.
Well, with PMI, you're not paying that with the conventional, because you're putting 20% down, both FHA, BPA, USDA, or, and those, you're gonna have it until 20%, and then you can refi, and it'll drop? Okay.
Yep, and or you can be checking with other lenders that after you're in this home, how long do I, or what amount do I have to pay down to get the mortgage insurance removed? Some are less than 20. So it's interesting, it depends. And so those are important things to of course keep in mind. But this will really help people have a picture. And same thing with insurance. Ballpark it. Take a stab at it. If you own a home, you know about what yours is going to cost. And if it's on the water, of course it's different. If it's in a flood zone, it's different. If it's in a flood zone, don't guess, just say there's going to be flood insurance, and let's get some accurate numbers. But these are things people need to plan on. Okay. I love saying, I don't know. And people look at me like, you don't know? I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you I know something that I don't, but I'll find out today. And we'll get that nailed down, because flood insurance is different based on the elevation of homes. There's things that adjust these prices. Same thing with insurance. Has there ever been a claim on the house? It makes a difference. Okay. Should I purchase a foreclosed property? This is a really good one. Because let's say it's cleared probate and the bank has brought it back. So now it's an REO, a real estate owned property, right? Why not? It's not a problem. Okay? You're buying through another agent, through the bank. I've sold a ton of those, and I've been on the listing side of a ton of those. So any questions, ask me. It's different here though, if you want to try and buy one on the courthouse steps. This is where it's really beware, because it's not on them to tell you what's attached to that property. People go on and go, awesome, I can buy this property for $100,000. Yeah, but there's $500,000 in liens on it. You just bought those too. People are like,
oh. Yeah, it needs another $100,000.
Yeah, right. And all of a sudden it goes right back to foreclosure and you lose your money. And it happens. Here's the other problem. If property may be destroyed inside, you usually can't go inside and do inspections. They're truly as is, where is. When I've been involved in these, and I have, and we often have money parked at the, well, let me go there, I'll just tell you the process. You also have to park money at the courthouse, because you have to have 10%, I think it's 10% of the purchase price. It was 5%. There's a percentage of the purchase price that you have to have sitting in the courthouse. So when you bid, they take that immediately. And then by the next morning, I'm not sure what time period that is, but by the next morning, you have to pay in full. If you don't, they just take your money, say thank you. Actually, they take your money and say, we hate you. You may never bid on another property because you weren't able to close on the deal, and you're now red tagged from our sales. You're out. No more. That's the way it works. And may not even have a clear title, guys. And there's a reason. When I buy those, by the way, I always run them through one of our title attorneys and have them do a title search, and I pay for it. I want to know. Okay? You need to tour the area. How's the neighborhood? This is dangerous. When people ask you, how's the neighborhood? And you go, man, it ain't bad. I wouldn't walk there at night though. I don't know, have you seen that thing around? No, you're gonna get yourself in such a mess. I've even used the line of, it's a beautiful neighborhood, you just might want to use a pit bull when you go for a walk at night. I don't know if that's legal. Probably isn't. I've got to check these things, because fair housing laws, code of ethics, all of these things are huge. And we don't want to break the law. So is it a nice neighborhood? There's a lot of people that live there and like it. You ought to take a look at it, drive through, make sure you're comfortable there.
Would it be fair to be like, it's a really diverse neighborhood? If you'd like to check out, the stats, I can't provide you with that, if you're the websites.
I think that's fine.
Drive on 11 o'clock at night, on Saturday night.
Yeah.
But I do think it's wise to say, check out the crime stats too.
Yeah.
And why not? Check out the websites.
Yeah.
Just like if people have kids. hey, you really ought to check out and see, where some of the people live that you don't want your kids around, yeah, the predators. So, and there's so many in Florida. It's amazing. I don't know why there's so many in Florida, but there are. So, we need to help people, but give them the information. Don't answer the question.